Welcome to Pinky and Pinups. Good vibes, good vibes. Welcome in, John Smokes. Welcome in, Blood Dragon. I hope the audio is better. I tried. I restarted the stream. So, if you read the title is When the Devil Lives Within, Part 1. And this is the story of Kevin Ray Underwood. If you can hear me, please type a 1 in chat. Awesome. Thank you, Blood Dragon. So Kevin Ray Underwood, born December 19th, 1979, was convicted of murder from Purcell, Oklahoma. The crimes he committed, I guess there's kind of multiple ones. So we will go through everything from the beginning, through his history, through the entire court case, his appeals, all the way to the end. Authorities had sought a missing 10-year-old girl, Jamie Rose Bolin, for whom an Amber Alert had been issued. Underwood lived near Bolin in the same apartment complex and was arrested on April 17, 2006. Underwood admitted to FBI agents and Oklahoma detectives that he had murdered and attempted to decapitate the little girl Bolin, telling them that go ahead and just arrest me. She is in there. I chopped her up. After Underwood's confession, Bolin's corpse, stashed in a large plastic container, was recovered from his bedroom closet. Purcell Police Chief Officer David Tompkins stated that Bolin's murder was a culmination of Underwood's fantasy to kidnap a person, rape them, torture them, kill them, cut off their head, and drain their body of their blood, rape their corpse, eat their corpse, and then dispose of their organs and bones. Underwood was convicted of having bludgeoned Bolin to death with a wooden cutting board. Police stated that he had found the meat tenderizer and barbecue skewers at the scene, which they presumed were intended for the use on the victim's corpse. Thank you very much. His original trial was on February 29th, 2008. A jury found him guilty of first-degree murder. A jury recommended the death penalty on March 7th of 2008. April 3rd, 2008, McLean County District Judge Candice Blacklock approved the recommendations for the death sentence. Underwood attempted to appeal his sentence because it was just unconstitutionally cruel and unusual punishment due to his mental illness, which we will get into. He was initially diagnosed with schizophrenia, personality disorder at the trial, but then was later diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. An Oklahoma federal judge rejected the appeal. The scheduled execution was originally on July 1st, 2022. Underwood was one of 25 death row inmates to be scheduled for execution in Oklahoma. He was scheduled to be executed on December 7th, 2023. That's in a couple of weeks. His execution was later postponed due to a request by an attorney. Now, they say this, but I have all of the court documents, and I don't believe that has been changed. So we will be boots on the ground for his death sentence. We will be going to where his home was. We will be going to where he worked. We will be going by where the little girl used to live, step by step, over the next 2 weeks, physically. Does anyone have any questions so far? Hey, oh, Leo, it's good to see you. Great Pill, it's good to see you. Candy Wrapper, thank you for coming back. Blood Dragon, it's good to see you. Thank you for coming back. John Smokes, it's good to see you. Everything sounds good, you guys? Just a nobody. It's okay. I'm here now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you'd like to come up, you may. I have been working on this project, and I hope you guys truly, for those of you that like true crime, boots on the ground, really digging in, I hope you get to enjoy this because I'm working my tail end off on it. And it'll be one of the few times that you get to see me boots on the ground. So just to nobody, I did drop my link. Oh, Lady O, I dropped my link if you wanted to come in. So his sentencing was May 29th, 2007. And I'm going to quickly pull up his record. I do have it all printed in front of me, but I can't exactly show it to you. So I'm going to pull up his court record real quick so you guys are able to see. Where is Get to Know? I don't know. I think he's hiding in the bushes. Silly, silly. Okay. Give me 1 second, guys. Dun, dun. Susanna, good to see you. Good to see you. Is this one it? No, that's the appeal. Just 1 second. I know, I'm a little slow, guys. Be patient with me. I think it is this one. Yes. Okay. I found it. Okay, I'm going to share screen. If everybody can see the screen, please let me know. Mike Woodley, it's so good to see you, Biscuit. Biscuit. Okay, I hope you guys are not too grossed out. I know some of us have weak stomachs, and this is not for the faint. I'm telling you, it is not. We are going to go over his actual confession. I'm going to play his confession. Everything is coming out. But I wanted to give you guys a good background history on who this person is first before we get into the nuts and bolts of it. Proud mama. Okay. So certified copy of order of removal. Open. Okay. That's not what I need. Okay, let's scroll down. So motion for discovery of all DNA testing. Okay. Share this tab instead. Woodley, did you play? Woodley, did you play today? Did I miss you today? I played for a little bit this morning. It's so good to see you guys. Thank you for hanging out with me. So, first, let me show you who this guy is and what he looks like. I want a picture of him. Share this tab. So this is young Kevin Underwood. This is the young man that has a severe mentally ill condition. And as I said before, it's like schizophrenia with some Asperger's, and then he also has sexual deviant mental issues also. So this just gives you the image of what this gentleman looks like. Now I'm going to share this screen. So this is the motion for discovery of any and all DNA testing, requests for hearing and protective order on DNA containing evidence, and notice of objection to anticipated consumptive DNA testing. Comes defendant Kevin Ray Underwood that moves this court for an order requiring the state to produce all of its discovery regarding evidence that it might be subject to the DNA analysis. Now, remember, soon as they came in, so what happened was this little girl, she was going to school, she'd come home, she was like kind of like a latchkey kid. And so she would just let herself in, change out of her school clothes, put on her play clothes, go outside and play for a little while. And she met this gentleman that lived in the apartment, like beneath her, but not beneath her, like beneath her, but across the hall of some sort. And she would cross his path every once in a while she's out riding her bike or out playing with her friends. And I guess he had like this little pet rat. It was like his little stress reliever. And she would always want to go pet the rat. Now, mind you, as you know, in today's society, you know, this wasn't very long ago in all actuality. This was in 2006, 2007. So he had been going through mental health facility, getting medications, trying to, you know, maintain his mental stability. And he was going through these phases where he would take it on and off. And I suppose that he was not taking it as prescribed, where it was, you know, supposed to be taken on a regular basis. So he would have these mental breakdowns. I believe the reason they're wanting some of this DNA is because he said that he wanted to consume part of her of some sort, that like eat her. It is something that he had been fantasizing about for a long time, and it could have been any human. In his statement that you'll hear later on, it didn't have to be a child. He said it could have been anyone. She was just easy prey because she was always coming over. So this form is a form that they're, you know, he's basically, his attorney is wanting them to hand over basically all the evidence that they have against him. The state informally advised counsel that some of the evidence in this case will be subjected to forensic testing, and will consume the evidence. So like some things that would be tested, they would no longer be valid anymore. So whether it be hair or blood or whatever, once they've gone through and tested it, it's no longer like in form, because of the tests on it, and it kind of gets absorbed into this thing. Defendants, the defendant has constitutional rights to access all evidence that was collected in his case, which guarantees him the opportunity to inspect and, in most cases, independently test the material if it becomes necessary to do so. Now, I'm assuming this is just their way for his defense, but he did come out right and just tell them that he did do this. We'll be going through the trial process of it and see if he changed his mind later on that he said that he was not guilty, which we will be going through. Mom says, I'm on now, was on this morning and had to work. Ryan, it's good to see you, brother Ryan. Hope you are doing well. So this is the motion to release the DNA for expert examination and evaluation of the request of the hearing. I do believe that this was okayed. Let me close out that one. Some of this is hard for me to even stomach, so you have to be patient with me. So, share screen, present. Okay, so a protective order hearing regarding the consumative forensic analysis. So this is discussing, they're wanting a protective order over the forensic evidence, so it can't be removed. Hi, Puff Muffin, welcome in. Okay, just nobody. Maybe, get to know, we'll stop by. So they brought this before the court. The court granted the order, and they ordered that there would be basically a protective order over it. Over the forensic evidence. Welcome in, get to know. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I heard that little son of a bitch, just a nobody was in here talking shit again, dude. Where's he at now? Where's he at now?
I have no
Where's he at
idea.
now? Jesus.
He is in chat.
I don't see him.
So I don't know if you caught the beginning of this. So this is going to be a 2-week series, you guys. So don't expect everything at once. This is going to be spread out over the next 2 weeks. The reason why is because I'm going to go to Oklahoma and I'm going to be there for his execution. We're going to go to his residence, his house. We're going to go to where the little girl used to live, show how far it was from her apartment to his apartment, how she walked there. We're going to go through all of that, boots on the ground. And I think it'll be very interesting. And then we'll be there for the execution. And I'm sure there'll be lots of news media there. Lots of news media.
Who's being executed?
His name. Okay, so I will start again.
Sorry, I know. Let me come in here and just screw everything up.
For those in the back. Okay. So, and it's okay, because this was just to give everybody the heads up that this is coming. This is what I'm going to be streaming about for the next 2 weeks. I've already planned them all. There's notations on each one of what the topic is going to be, all the way to the execution, and then the follow-up where we all get to be like, oh, this family finally got justice. So he is getting the death penalty by lethal injection. Okay, so there's this gentleman. His name is Kevin Ray Underwood from Purcell, Oklahoma. Born December 19th, 1979. Sugar glider. I hope you have a not a sensitive stomach.
No.
Okay. Born December 19th, 1979. No, I'm going to play some videos for you guys. It's bad.
I probably better get out of here then. I got a weak ass stomach. I can't do it.
We'll see. You'll tell me. Okay, he was convicted for murder in Purcell, Oklahoma. Authorities had been seeking out a 10-year-old little girl, Jamie Rose Boland, for whom the Amber Alert had been issued. Underwood, who lived near Boland, he actually lived in the apartment right below her across the hall, admitted to the FBI agents and Oklahoma detectives that he had murdered her and attempted to decapitate Boland, telling them, "Go ahead, just arrest me. She's in there. I chopped her up." After Underwood's confession, Boland's corpse was stashed in a large plastic container and was recovered in the bedroom closet. Purcell Police Chief David Tompkins stated that Boland's murder was a culmination of Underwood's fantasies to kidnap a person, rape a person, torture them, kill them, cut off their head, drain their blood from their body, rape their corpse, eat their corpse, then dispose of their organs and bones.
Wow.
Get to know her? You okay?
Oh, he had to walk away.
Okay. So on February 29th, 2008, a jury found him guilty of first-degree murder. The jury recommended the death penalty on March 7th, 2008, on 2008, and then again on April 3rd, 2008. McLean County District Judge Candace Bullock approved the recommendations for the death sentence. Underwood attempted to appeal his death sentence because it would be unconstitutionally cruel and unusual punishment. Really?
Wow.
Really? But he's saying that it's unusual and cruel punishment due to his mental illness, because he was diagnosed with schizopath personality disorder, schizophrenia, Asperger's syndrome. But the Oklahoma federal judge still rejected the appeal. Old Fart Gaming, it's good to see you. His scheduled execution was originally on July 1st, 2022.
Stop.
Underwood was one of 25 death row inmates to be scheduled for execution in Oklahoma. He was then again scheduled for December 7th, 2023. And you will notice the countdown of days. It's 13 days from today.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Stop it.
So that is what we'll be going over, kids. I'm just kidding. That I have his entire case file printed up, and it's thick. It is thick. Wait till you guys see this thing. I'm still sorting it, but it is, yeah. We're going to go over every appeal, all of the evidence. I have photos of the evidence that's in that case file. But we'll do a quick review. If you guys would like a quick review of what he has stated. That's why I'm not on screen today, because this was just to... Let's see.
Yeah, buddy. Wow, I don't even. What the fuck is wrong with humans, dude?
No, I don't know. I know
Like,
this one is, you know what? This one, it threw me for a loop. The reason why I'm doing it, one, is because it's so absurd. It is so crazy. It is like, I have to show you. There's no other way for me to explain it other than I have to just show you. It caught me off guard, and I was like, this is very interesting. Like, I remember hearing about it, but I never went back and, really listened to like what all he said.
Ouch.
So it's the way he explains things.
Stop.
Yeah. Kevin, you know where you are? I'm in police department. Purcell, yeah, Purcell Police Department here. Reason, basically, we want to be sure that you know what you're doing. That
Nichols, good to see you, love.
You've been treated right. Since we have not seen you for the last few hours, we want to make sure everybody's treated you good and treated you right.
Yeah, they felt, that's almost annoying how they keep asking me, like, okay, if I need anything to eat.
Okay,
I
well,
just started feeling sick about the last half hours.
just nausea.
Yeah, just kind of all getting to me and
Are you
kind of like
nervous?
some little acid reflux and stuff. And, yeah, nervous and everything.
Did you feel okay
He
about
gets
talking?
so, let me pause it. He gets so disgusted with what he did. He started projectile vomiting during his confession.
what the?
You'll understand.
Yeah.
Well, you remember Craig Overby, and I'm Mark Mag, and you'll recognize us, the two FBI agents that we
Yeah.
with you earlier.
Asked for you.
Okay, great. For the record, we want to just to make sure that you understand your rights. We're going to have you read this to us. And can you read mine?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, just for the record, it's part of our job as FBI agents, make sure that your rights are protected. And that's why we want to make sure that you understand these. And so I'll begin with this. This form is one that's been produced for the Purcell Police Department, so you'll see their name at the top. And it's right.
You must understand your rights before we ask you any questions. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in court or other proceedings. You have the right to talk.
Now, mind you, before he ever made it to this room, law enforcement had been to his house. They finally got him to open the door, and they were like, hey, can we just, we just need to make sure that she's not here. This is serious, trigger warning. Exactly. We just need to verify that she's not here. We just need to dot all of our I's, cross all of our T's. And he's like, yeah, go ahead, take a look around. The officer noticed that there was a lot of Febreze, like the smell of Febreze. And so he's like, do you mind if I take a look in the bedroom? And he goes in the bedroom and he's like, just handcuff me now. Like, he panics because he knows they're going to find her. He panics. And so it's just handcuff me now. She's in the closet.
Talk to a lawyer for advice before we question you and to have him with you during questioning. If you cannot afford a lawyer and need one, a lawyer will be appointed for you. If you decide to answer questions now without a lawyer present, you will still have the right to stop the questioning at any time. You also have the right to stop the questioning at any time until you talk to a lawyer. I've read the statement of my rights and it has been read to me. Just one of them was like, it'd probably be a lot better off for you if you just cooperated with us and talked right now.
You remember who it was that said that?
I'm not good with names.
Okay, was he a, you know who he was with? Was he was he FBI or was he?
I think it was FBI.
And now it's 10:15, approximately a minute later. And this is the certification that we just got her all read along with you. Go ahead and read aloud.
I hereby certify that the foregoing warning and waiver of rights were read by me above signatory.
Maybe I can see the search. Go ahead, for the record, tell us your full name.
Kevin Ray Underwood.
Would you spell the last name?
UNDERWOOD.
And what is your date of birth, Kevin?
12/19/79.
12/19/1979.
Yeah.
And your social security number?
440-802599.
440-802599. Okay. What is your current address?
1000 North 8th, apartment 115, Purcell, Oklahoma 73080.
And do you have a home telephone number?
405-527-5349.
Okay. You work at what's the grocery store that you work for?
Well, I said I technically work for the grocery store, but I work at Griders Foods Cost Less. And
What do they do there?
they're just a grocery store.
It's a grocery store. What's your job there?
Supermarket. Well, I work for the distribution company that supplies the like Mexican import goods, and I just work in there and stock the shelves with that stuff.
Is your job a manual labor job, or do you do any kind of paperwork?
And that's all the manual labor.
How long have you worked there?
I can't remember exactly for sure, but I think it's been something like 11 months, maybe a year.
Okay.
So at one time, this gentleman had a girlfriend, very, very, very short-lived girlfriend. And she no longer wanted to see him. And he told her, if I don't get to have sex soon, I'm going to kill somebody. So he's extremely sexually frustrated. Needless to say, he took his vengeance through video games, through imagination, through pornography. It's one of the reasons why I say pornography is so detrimental to our health, because he started reenacting what he was imagining and took it to a whole new level of sick.
And your dad helped you get that job? Because he
Pretty much, yeah. He was. He orders a few things for his. He works back in the meat market. He doesn't work for the same company I do. He works for the store. He's a manager of the meat market, and he orders some spices from my employer. And so he had heard that the guy was looking for some help, and he suggested me.
I'll tell you something that surprised me while we were talking. I was going to interrupt for a second. You seem like a very intelligent person, just from the moment I started talking to you. And you said, I've been to college for a couple of years at the arts and science. That didn't surprise me. I said, because this strikes me as a guy who's got a college degree, just in your demeanor and the way you talk. You have such good language skills, maybe even better than mine.
Does he sound remotely crazy to you? He looks
Just
like
a
a
little
completely normal guy. Right?
Yep.
What do you think so far?
I think I'm gonna need a barf bag. But
That's very articulate. We didn't have any problem understanding.
I always feel like I have a horrible accent. I didn't used to have much of an accent at all, but it seems like just over the last 2 to 3 years, my vocal skills have gone downhill.
You don't sound that way to me at all. Actually, you sound very smart.
My vocabulary is not what it once was.
As a part, and I'm sure you watch TV, but as a part of the investigation, they're going to want to search your apartment.
Yeah, I already signed a thing earlier saying they could
Okay.
hours ago.
And here's the situation, Kevin. We want to go ahead and get another one for the record to have it in line with also this waiver of rights, so that we can just go through this and make sure you're clear this is the direction you want to go. Okay. And I understand about the other, but this is just in furtherance of us following all the rules and regulations. It's just doing this properly so that you know what you're doing and we know what we're doing. What we'd like to do, and I wanted to go back when you mentioned your address. You gave your address, and I understood that. Would you go ahead and put down, let's read this together first, and it will say, I,
I, Kevin Underwood,
Well, read it first and then we'll have you write your name in there.
hereby grant my consent to Craig Overby and Martin Mag, officers, Police Department.
So we'll scratch that out and put, we're gonna make it for the record here, we're gonna scratch it out, but, and special agents, I'll have you initial this. Of the FBI. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
And or other law enforcement officers, including.
So right now, what he's doing is he's signing over his rights. Like he's letting them know that all law enforcement has access to what he's about to tell them. Any questions? Get to know.
Nope. I'm good so far.
The,
I think that's it.
just not 100% sure.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you what all this is. You know what year it is?
The car, 1998.
Where's the parked currently?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you're giving your apartment again,
Apartment.
your address.
1000 North 8.
I'm going to write, I'm asking yourself, yeah, because I'm about to bust. Where's the bicycle?
You don't have a comment?
No.
Well, I took it apart, man. It's most of it's just right under the bed.
Oh, okay, you took it apart for the.
Oh, the like main frame and the back wheel are under the bed, and the rest of it's in. There's like a big duffel bag in the closet with the air.
Did you hear that part?
Not really.
Okay.
Kind of, but not
Let
really.
me. Okay.
Okay. And then you're giving your apartment again.
So what the officer is asking him is, where is the little girl's bike located? Because she was out riding her bike that day. She got out of school, came home, changed her clothes, got a glass of ice milk, and went riding her bike. Not only that, but he had like a Twitter account, some other like messaging accounts, like where like you could type out like a diary type thing, kind of like what is it called? There's like other like social websites that you can like have personal diaries, right? And you know, he would talk about how the kids bothered him, you know, them riding their bikes up and down the corridor between the apartment complexes, and like his medication wasn't working, it was bothering him. He was just like being really sensitive. And that's something that we all need to look out for, red flags. If we have certain acquaintances that are really hypersensitive to certain sounds, lights, paranoia, things like that. Because we never know who's living next door, especially when we live in communities where it's multifamily communities. And if you have children, for instance, like I have children, Get to Know has children. So like we have to be hyper vigilant and hyper careful about, you know, what's in the next door neighbor's medicine cabinet.
Yeah,
Apartment.
Your address.
that's the real.
1000 North 8.
I'm going to write, I'm asking yourself, yeah, because I'm about to bust. Where's the bicycle?
You don't have a comment?
No.
Well, I took it apart, man. It's most of it's just right under the bed.
Oh, okay, you took it apart for the.
Oh, the like main frame and the back wheel are under the bed, and the rest of it's in. There's like a big duffel bag in the closet with the air conditioner. That's where all the pieces are.
Oh, okay. See, I only know they've been.
Now, mind you, so this little girl went missing. Within a few hours of them searching for her, they had came and knocked on her door. Okay. So this was all within a few hours. He was able to accomplish this, disassemble her bike, hide her bike, clean up within a few hours of her missing, and them knocking on her door. Okay.
Been in there yet, so I don't know.
Taking it apart so I can even transport it out.
I see. So it's 1,000 North 8th for Sale, Oklahoma?
Yeah.
I was guessing the trunk of your car.
No, there's nothing in the car.
What's your apartment?
115.
115, and it's downstairs?
Yeah.
And I'm having a hard time seeing it this way. Tell me that zip again.
73080.
Okay. And we will
Where's
not
that
be
get to know
switching
just
places of
nobody?
business, so I'll just draw a line through there.
Thank you.
Okay. Let me ask you, is there anything relevant where you work, like a locker or anything that would be relevant to this? And Kevin, if you would just print your name up here,
Print it.
and if you would initial each one of these paragraphs that we've gone over, again, that you're authorizing law enforcement officers, including SBI, FBI, and other local or state agencies to conduct a search of your vehicle, part of your apartment, and your apartment to identify you.
I think the full name, middle name too.
Yes, if you don't mind.
Okay, so just initial over here somewhere.
Yeah, the car, initial the part by the car, where we made those changes to include the FBI and the SBI people and whomever would be associated as assistants of those agencies. And then the house part, the apartment 115, just to that. And then this is not an issue here. And then sign your name here.
Didn't really have the skill. I mean, I haven't wrote anything in years.
Were you ever a journalist, where you would write journals? Were you that type of guy? Right.
So this is where he explains about his journal writing and his emotions, how he's feeling, how distressed he is about his girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend who didn't want to be with him anymore. She moved, etc.
On a journal.
And I do have a blog, like an online journal thing I write in. I haven't even wrote in it hardly in a couple of months.
Well, when you were writing your blog, what would you write? What would you do?
Mainly just, like what happened to me during the day.
It's like an online diary.
Yeah, pretty much.
We kind of go back. We had they just kind of went wham, just took everybody kind of by surprise, I think. We were definitely surprised. We were shocked about our discovery with you, and it was a complete surprise to both of us. But we think I think.
You think? You think it would be a
Just a
big
little bit.
surprise? Like, could you imagine like being the officer and they're like looking all over hell and half of Georgia for this little girl, and within this short period of time this happened? So I'm going to read because I do have to break up the video because it's somebody else's video. You either have to add to it and you have to add something, to make it better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read part of the affidavit for the search warrant. So this affidavit for the search warrant was on April 20th of 2006. So before the undersigned judge of the district court, the undersigned by duly sworn disposed says that he has reason to believe that on the premises known as 1000 North 8th Street in Purcell, Oklahoma, in the state of Oklahoma, more specifically described as Purcell Park Apartments. Directions to the apartment are as follows, etc., etc. I don't need to give you the directions. It describes what the building looks like. And then it says within the curtilage, within the city of yada, yada, yada. Okay, evidence concerning the investigation of the crime, murder, including but not limited to the human remains of Jamie Rose Boland, blood, physiological fluids, secretions, hair fibers, fingerprints, palm prints, footprints, shoe prints, shoes, clothing, and other garments, weapons, cutting instruments, tools, blunt force instruments, instruments containing traces of any the preceding articles, items, and personal property found on the premises of which shown, what person or persons have custody and control of articles sought by the described premises, which constitutes evidence of the commission of the crime, evidence that a particular person participated in the commission of the crime, personal computer included but not limited to electronic storage devices, disk drives, floppy drives, memory sticks, a girl's 20-inch bicycle, purplish in color. Further, the affidavit states to support the application for each showing, but there's probable cause for the issuance of the search warrant as follows. Your affidavit is Detective Mike Morrow, who has been employed as the Purcell police officer over 16 years, and I am currently assigned to the detective division that have been there for 7 years. Goes on to explain who he is. Says the affidavit states that on the 12th day of April of 2006, the affidavit becomes involved in the investigation of the missing persons. The AMFIT was advised that Jamie Rose Bolin had been reported missing by her father. Mr. Bolin stated her bicycle was also missing. Miss Bolin lived at 1000 North 8th Street, apartment. I think that was a typo. Because it says Mrs. I think it was Mr. and that's the same address as he had. So anyways, apartment 115 in Purcell Park Apartments. A search for Miss Bolin's commenced, which including officers from the McLean County Sheriff's Department, District Attorney's Office, and other agencies, including the FBI. On April 14th, 2006, the affidavit was advised that Special Agent Craig Overby, FBI, that had started the canvass of the apartment complex. So basically, like starting at one end, cruising through, doing what they could, trying to find the little girl. Okay. Approximately at 10 a.m., Agent Overby contacted the apartment manager, Tim Bayer, of the Purcell Park Apartments. Mr. Bayer stated that he had heard that one of his tenants, Kevin Underwood, who resides in the apartments number 115, had been the last person to have seen her or talked to little Bolin. That's the little girl. That's why they're calling her Miss Bolin. It's the little girl. Agent Overby advised your affidavit that approximately 3:45 p.m. she had contact with Kevin Underwood in the area of 6th and Lincoln in the city of Purcell. Mr. Underwood stated that he would talk with the agents and would accompany them to the Purcell Police Department. Agent Overby advised that he told Mr. Underwood that he was not under arrest at the time. Mr. Underwood was interviewed by agents Overby and Mag, M-A-A-G. During the interview, Mr. Underwood stated that he would last saw, so weird saying it that way. He had last saw Mrs. Bolin. He was not wearing the clothing that had been reported to the media. So he knew that she wasn't wearing the clothes that she went to school in. So her dad was like, hey, she was wearing this when she left for school. And he was like, no, she wasn't. Because he knew that she had went upstairs, changed her clothes, got a glass of milk, came back downstairs to go play, and, came across him to pet his rat. So, I mean, that right there would also concern me that he knew more about what she was wearing than anybody else.
Yeah.
Mr. Underwood stated that he had observed Miss Bolin wearing blue sleeveless shirt and pink shorts. Agent Overby stated he told Mr. Underwood that they were finished with the interview and that they would be taking him home to his apartment. Agent Overby stated that Mr. Underwood, if they could look in his apartment to ensure that Miss Bolin was not in the apartment. The agent Overby stated that Mr. Underwood could give consent to search the apartment. So this is where he was like, hey, can we come in and check our, dot our I's, cross our T's, just to make sure she's not here, Mr. Underwood consented. Now, to me, that seems weird. Like, he knows the baby's in there, and he totally consented to them coming in. Maybe he thought they'd be like, oh, never mind, it's okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doesn't that sound odd? that he'd be like, sure, come on
Yeah.
in, check it out. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Overly stated that he observed it was a very large plastic container sealed with duct tape in the bottom of the closet. Agent Overly stated he asked Mr. Underwood what was in the container. Mr. Underwood stated that there was comic books in there. Overly stated that if he asked if he could look in the container, Mr. Underwood again consented to the search. The little girl was in there. Agent Overly stated that he opened the contained container and observed what he believed to be a shirt, and Mr. Underwood stated that that was the shirt that she was wearing. Agent Overly stated, I thought there was comic books in here, and there is only clothes. At the time, Mr. Underwood stated, go ahead, arrest me. She's in there. I chopped her up. Agent Overly then closed the container and took custody of Mr. Underwood. A signed consent was obtained from Mr. Underwood and the agent Overly went inside the residence to confirm that Miss Boland was deceased. Agent Overly advised that the affidavit that she was deceased and inside the container. The personal knowledge based on the agent's training and experience that the crimes of violence as one described above involved the struggle, the breaking of objects, the use of weapons, and weapons that are normally harmless instruments, instrumentally used and employed to offend as offensive weapons. The person and persons participating in the commission of violent offenses are in contact with physical surroundings in forceful and otherwise detectable manner. There is often an attempt to alter, destroy, remove, clean up, or cover evidence of a crime. The traces that are left behind in the form of blood, physiological fluids, secretions, hair, fibers, fingernails, fingerprints, footprints, shoe prints, shoes, clothing, other garments, weapons, including hunting instruments and cutting tools, blunt force instruments, etc. Hi, JD Live. Containing traces of which preceded articles. Items in which personal property found on the premises which show the person or persons have custody and control of the articles sought. So this is basically the search warrant for the house after he had been arrested. They have to have it signed by a judge to go back and really thoroughly go through and look for any and all DNA. I will go back to the video.
At some point, you realize you had to do the right thing and tell what happened. Yeah. And why don't you go right back from the very start? When did this kind of thought first occur to you? Maybe do something like this. How long has this been with you?
A couple of months, probably. I was telling one of the guys earlier, I don't know if it has anything to do with the medication I'm ordering a lot, but it started about the same time I went back on it.
Now, the first time you were on it, did you have that problem?
No, the first time I didn't get medication a year or two ago, seemed fine, but then a month and a half ago, I got back on it again. And ever since I started taking it again, I've just been eating constantly, just from the minute I get home to the minute I go to sleep. If I eat, I gain probably 20, 30 pounds.
So this is where he explains, the medications that he was on, they're not working correctly, and, he's taking them on and off, and it's causing him, like gaining weight, etc.
Yeah.
Pounds in the last month. And about the same time, I just seemed like I started having all these, weird fantasies and everything.
When is that the first time in your life? And we understand this. I mean, what you experience is nothing unusual. There are some people that fantasize, about different things. That, for instance, one guy might fantasize being with 3 different women, and that's kind of what turns him on. And some people, their fantasies may go a little more violent. Some people, they might fantasize about handcuffing somebody and having sex. And it maybe progresses a little bit, but when do you first think you started having, fantasies of this nature? Was it as a teenager? Did you have this?
No, it was all recently.
Can you describe what your fantasy is for the record?
Well, it started off as cannibalism.
Okay, so please let me remind chat. For those of you that are just coming in, welcome in Newman Gaming. If you have a weak stomach, this is not for you. This is a trigger warning. We are about to get very
Yeah.
graphic.
Okay, I'm gonna jump down
Please.
then. I really can't handle it. I really can't.
Okay, hon,
But
that is fine.
I'll try to hang out in the chat, but I'm not sure. But you know I love you, Pinky.
Well, this is true crime. This is real crime. This is what really, really happens. And it happens all too often.
Yep, it does too. It's so sad. It's so disgusting, and we need to make shit change, man.
A lot of true crime, they don't really get to see like real evidence. Like a lot of it's mysterious. You know, we really don't get to know. And I think that's one of the reasons why I like to wait to the end. So we have all of the evidence in front of us instead of us making assumptions on who did what and with what.
Yep.
You know, we're not playing the game Clue. These are people's lives. So with that being said, while we're on break, I'm going to read to you what was seized under the warrant on the 14th day of April, 2006. A black duffel bag containing bike parts and a mug from the closet. Bicycle frame with one tire from under the bed. Duct tape from plastic tote. Bike chain from stairwell. Knife with sheath from the dresser drawer in the bedroom. Duct tape from the bookshelf in the living room. One roll of duct tape from the bedroom bookshelf. Duct tape and tissue from the kitchen trash. Wipe with blood like substance from the kitchen trash. One plastic trash bag wrapper Ace. Scrapings from wall near vanity closet in the bedroom. Blood-like stains, sample from the wall near the vanity closet in the bedroom. Blood-like stains sample from the bathtub. Blood of Jamie Rose Bolin in tote. Blue panties, blue tank top, green lace. Continued on next page. White towel with stripes. Striped shorts, eyeglasses. Papers from top chest of drawers from the bedroom. Computer manuals, one CD, and one piece of paper with passwords. Receipts and paper note from top of closet and drawers. Women's underwear from bottom drawer of dresser. Knife from the desk in the... Sorry about that. Knife from the top of the entertainment center in the living room. Skewers from the drawers and the refrigerator in the kitchen. Spiral notebook from the closet in the bedroom. Sex toys from the closet in the vanity area. Manila envelope with one CD from shelving in living room. McDonald's sack from vanity closet. One plastic filing system in the bottom dresser drawer in the bedroom. One plastic bag with possible porn videos from living room. 3 swords, one from love seat in the living room, 2 from the bedroom in the vanity closet. 2 notebooks from the bedroom desks, 2 toolbox with miscellaneous tools, including hacksaw. Compact box with sex toys, handcuffs, and Barbie doll from bedroom closet. 3 books from bookshelf in bedroom. Incense tray. Jehovah Witness book. Checkbook, bank statements, incense sticks, bottle of meat tenderizer.
Oh my God, dude.
White from kitchen area. Cutting board from kitchen. 1 Apple computer. 1 USB drive. 1 digital concept camera. 1 Nikon digital camera. Several CDs. 2 prescription bottles for Kevin Underwood. 1 empty blister pack of Lexapro. And he stated that the Lexapro is what was causing this issue, because they were not medicating him correctly for the issues that he was having with his mental illness.
Well,
You
that
know, if
scares
you
the shit out
read
of me because I was just prescribed Lexapro.
be very careful when it comes truly. I cannot express this enough. If you are not sure if you have mental illness, don't assume you do.
Right.
Unless
Well, I
someone
know.
knows for a fact you are hearing voices. because
Yeah.
mental illness medications can cause you to become mentally ill.
Yeah.
If you are not. Some people will be like, oh, I'm having stress and anxiety and get medications that are really not for them. Because doctors misdiagnose things all the time.
Yep.
Careful. That was what was found. So again, like I said, when we had this discussion, when we find men that don't have children or women that don't have children and they have kids' toys is very concerning. If you remember the list that I just read, how many times have we discussed about red flags and the things that are within there that are triggering? Like, why would he have this? Why would he have that? If he hasn't been having sex for like 15 years or 10 years or whatever it is, like he had sex once in his life. That was it. That was
Wow.
it. And he has all these sex toys. Like, what was he planning on doing with those if he didn't have a partner and didn't plan on having a partner? So it draws concern, and we just need to take things a little more seriously when it comes to, like when you're looking at cases like this, like, why would he have these? You know what I mean? So
Right.
this is all for learning purposes and like taking real-time evidence and being able to use them on future cases. You can also find this case within so like FindLaw, Westlaw, because it is so extreme. So for like undergrads or pre-law students, law students, they can go through and look and see everything that was applied and how this case came about versus next time, like what are those loopholes or what you know what I mean? Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Are you still jumping down before I play the rest of this? Or are you going to try to stomach it?
I'm gonna try to hang out as long as I can. So if I just jump down, it's just
Okay. If you disappear, I'll understand why. And for those of you that are hanging out in chat, I greatly appreciate you. I know some of this is hard to stomach. Newman Gaming, I will swing by. Maybe we go trucking. Newman Gaming, if you have not, you guys, please drop your links in chat so other people can get to know you. Newman Gaming, he does a lot of like trucking, flying, stuff like that. So I like to play backseat driver. It's really fun. Like he'll be trucking and I'll be like, oh, like, I gotta go pee. You gotta pull over. Oh, I'm hungry. Playing backseat driver. In-flight movie. Yeah. Because my channel's so serious, like, so I like to go to other channels and goof off. Okay, let me get back to this.
me too.
Just the, I wanted to know what it tasted like. And just the thought of eating, someone, was appealing to me. But then, it kept kind of evolving from there because I am, sexually frustrated. I haven't had sex in 4 years.
Was it with, when you went out to San Francisco, did you?
No, well, I went out to Nevada to stay with that guy and his wife a couple of times.
Can you say their names, because I forgot, or we never told us, you told us.
So quick review. What he's saying is that he had been fantasizing since he had been on the Lexapro about what it would taste like to eat someone. He was extremely sexually frustrated and he had not had sex since the one and only time that he had went to Nevada to visit this young lady. I believe her name was Melissa.
You just had you out in the Navy. That's all.
His name is Christopher Lansdale. And,
Lansdale.
Yeah.
Christopher Lansdale is in the Navy.
Yeah.
Okay. And you said he was stationed in Nevada?
Yeah.
You know what base it is?
Fowling was the name of the town. It was a naval air station.
Okay.
And, now he's stationed down in Fort Worth somewhere. I don't know the name of the station though.
Oh, he's down at Fort Worth Naval Air Station. I've been by there.
But anyway, and like the second time I went out there, like me, like I'm his best friend, and then this girl was like, there's this other girl, Christina Bray, she was like his wife's best friend, and we
Maybe her name was Christina Bray. Maybe that's the girl he's getting ready to say that I think he was kind of dating.
both took a bus out there together to go stay with him for a couple of weeks. And we ended up at the end of it, like when we came back to Oklahoma, going out a few times. It was, we went out like 4 or 5 times and had sex a couple of times, and then she just like stopped returning my phone calls. And that was the first and the last time I've ever had sex.
What was it like with her? Can you describe it?
Well, I'm very shy, and it was pretty awkward for me. I mean, I like couldn't take the hint. She was like, she didn't even really want to go on a date. It turned out that's the reason she probably stopped taking my calls. She didn't want a boyfriend. She just wanted someone to have sex with, like once a week or two. And I kind of wanted a girlfriend, and I guess she wasn't okay with that, and so stopped talking to me.
Now, have you ever been about Jeremy Dahmer?
Jeffrey
Dahmer, that's it.
So here is where he is discussing like, hey, have you ever researched like serial killers like Jeffrey Dahmer or Dahmer, etc.? And he's like, no, not really. So he's not like your typical person. I'm concerned that, and I'm not in his defense, so please do not take this any kind of awkward. I'm trying to see this from an outsider's perspective, trying to gain how he thinks. So he's not really he just wanted to see what a human body tasted like. Why didn't he start with himself? Like, nip off a toe or something. Why did he have to go to another human being? You know what I'm saying?
If you're that desperate to eat somebody, go to a morgue and ask the mortician if you could buy a leg or something. I don't know, dude. You know what I mean? Like,
and
you got to murder a perfectly innocent little girl, dude. That's fucked off, dude.
And you'll hear him state it. He goes, it didn't matter who it was. He wasn't specifically into little kids. He just wanted to know what the human body tasted like. Hannibal Lecter is what comes to mind.
Yeah. Read on the internet because
I've never really studied any of them in depth. I have on my DVD rack in the living room, you'll see there's a 2-disc DVD set of, it's like 4 episodes of some A&E special. One's like over Manson. I can't even remember who they are. There's like 3 of them, 3 different killers, and then the 4th one, like, just the kind of the investigative methods they used to find them. It wasn't at the time, it wasn't like, oh, I want to do this. It was just, it's like, oh, these are kind of interesting. So
did that, as you were planning this out, did your knowledge of investigations that you've learned from watching Andy, did that play into any of this? Did you think about, well, this is what I need to do? Because, we all have experience of watching TV.
Feeling sick.
Bring that garbage can over here.
Just very slightly. I didn't know much. I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't watch a lot of TV, but I, thought about, tried to imagine like steps I could take.
Give yourself a second. Okay.
Yeah, I might need some water.
Let's see if we're going to take a break here in the interview, and I'll note that it is now.
Hello.
Get you a couple more. What time do you have, Craig? Your watch. 10:34. It's now 10:30. Your bottle of water. Thank you. We're going to ask for a bottle of water. I'll tell you, the thing about my personality is I'm a kind of guy, and I think you're the same way, but like in my office, I have.
This is at the point where he's already starting to get sick. If you notice, he's like, can I get some water? I'm like, I'm not feeling too good. So he does have remorse for gore. like some people are okay with gore. Like I can't watch someone, like they used to have that show, people be riding their bikes and the bike flip up and they're like break a leg or something. I cannot watch that stuff. If I know it's real, I can't watch it. It like hurts me physically, causes pain. Scary movies, because I know they're fake, I can do that sometimes. Some gore I can't do. But this is physically making him ill. Him going back and reviewing what he did.
Have things in a certain way. I mean, I put things in a certain place. Are you a planner? Are you a guy that likes to plan?
Not really, no. I certainly planned this out. I mean, I've been thinking about it for at least a month. So, about a month.
This is where he goes on and he explains where he had been planning to do this for about a month.
Now, it wasn't specifically the girl in question, or
No, I told the guy earlier, it could have really been anyone. I mean,
And again, this is where he explains it could have been anyone. It didn't have to be anyone in specific. So that to me is like, wow.
age and it wasn't, it wasn't necessarily, pedophile thing either. I mean, age and even gender didn't even really matter to me. I just, first I just wanted to basically to eat someone, and then it turned into, while I'm at it, I'm going to, get off, have sex with him.
were you going to have sex before or after, or both?
Well, my plan, my original plan.
Trigger warning. If you can't handle it, please, I'm telling you, this is trigger warning, serious trigger warning. Warning, warning, warning.
The way I had envisioned it all going was I was going to just like grab him and
Just any person.
yeah. Well, I did kind of favor this girl a little. I'd seen her and I was like, I was kind of like, well, I'd really like her. But then as I saw her more and more, I'd think, no, I can't hurt her. She's nice and I know her too well.
What's her name for the record?
I didn't even know it until this happened. It was Jamie Bolin or something like that.
How did you learn of her name?
Newspaper. I didn't even know her name until today.
Is the account of the newspaper's description of Jamie Bowen the same girl that we're talking about for the purposes of this?
Seems like it.
He did not even know her name. So there are 3 types of criminals. And he is the one that's more spontaneous, but kind of planned at the same time, where it's no one in specific. So it leaves it a little messy. They kind of plan it, but they don't plan it. So you can see that there is the intent to commit the crime, the plan to commit the crime. But then there's that oh my gosh, I can't believe I just did this, which is the remorse, which makes me really question, the medications that he was on, and were those medications really the right ones?
I had no idea she was 10. I would have sworn she was probably 12 or 15.
Can you just for the record describe it before you continue on?
Describe her?
Yeah, her physical appearance.
She was had thin red hair, glasses. She was real chubby.
And where did she live?
Upstairs and across.
Do you know the apartment number?
I was 115, so maybe 2. I think like 213.
But it was open across from you.
Yeah, upstairs and across the hall.
I just want to make sure I was clear on who it was. You go ahead and answer these questions. I'll let you know what we're talking. We mentioned her, you said, I can remember her response to my sister. Yeah, why did you say that? Was that true, or were you, at the time, were you trying to throw us off?
That was my thought after I already did it.
Later here.
And this is, about it, you're fine. Really hate
has been a mama's boy too. The fixation typically they do with their mother, but the relationship with his mom, that behavior.
Because this will probably wish she wasn't in the best of health anyway.
Now, tell us, as in last month, you started
Welcome
thinking
in,
about
Gemini
this. Tell us
guy.
the
It's good
thing
to
that you
see
came up with
you.
in your area.
Well, like I said, I was just gonna grab whoever, and I had some handcuffs and some duct tape. I was gonna handcuff them and put the duct tape over their mouth so they couldn't scream.
Where's the handcuffs now?
Where are they? They're in. I have a bag in the closet that has a bunch of like porn and sex toys and stuff in it. They're in there.
Which closet is it? Is it the one
The
where
one,
the
no,
duct is?
the one that was in.
Where the
Big walk-in closet.
how long have you had that bag with the porn and the handcuffs and all that stuff?
Well, some of the stuff I've had for years. I don't think anything is a recent addition.
What kind of, tell us what's in that bag.
Well, there's like a fake vagina, and then like I said, gender didn't even really matter. I've never done anything with a guy, but I've always been bi-curious. I got a vibrator and a couple of dildos. Then there's some like novelty things like the handcuffs and blindfold.
So he said gender didn't really matter, but yet he was also bi-curious.
Are they real functional handcuffs that would restrain somebody?
They've got the little releases on them. People could get out of them if they really try again.
Okay, it's designed for.
Yeah, I got them out of sex at the Christmas toy box at the sex store.
Okay. Have you always been interested in like, I guess, like S&M games?
Not at all, no. Neither bondage or S&M. I just mainly got the handcuffs here about a year or so ago because there was a girl I liked who was kind of into handcuffs.
That must have been the young lady that was from Nevada, Fallon or something.
But well, if I ever end up getting involved with her.
It's something that you thought maybe you guys talked and you knew she liked that. And
Yeah.
was it an internet deal?
No, it was well, who was it that liked him? Was it the internet or was it the girl? I think it might have been the girl I work with. My previous job before this one, I worked at a Carl's Jr. down there for 9 years, and there was and there was a girl there I worked with for several years, and we were pretty good friends. We're still in contact online rarely. I talked to her a few days ago, and that was the first time I talked to her about mine. And I think it was her that. I had a crush on her for like 2 or 3 years, and I think it was her that liked him.
Okay. What did you do with Carl's Jr. for 9 years?
Cashier. They offered me management a long time ago, but I just didn't want it. Didn't want the responsibility for basically no extra money. So I was mainly a cashier usually.
So he worked at Carl's Jr.'s, and then I believe that his father helped him get a career at his latest employment. So if I remember correctly, he worked at Carl's Jr.'s, and then he was planning on moving. And the girl that he was going to move with, I think it was to Nevada, when they stopped talking, then he ended up staying where he was at and had to go back to work. And he was unemployed for a while, and his father helped him get another job.
In the drive-thru.
Why'd you leave Carl's Jr.?
Because it was low pay, and I'd been there for 9 years and was sick of it. And I got, my dad found me this better job. So
Better pay?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, going back to the plan, you
So
you had the handcuffs and the duct tape.
yeah, so what I was going to do is I was going to You know, I
Welcome
said,
in, B. You're
"Yeah,
welcome
you've
to
been
come
there,
up.
strain him." And if it was a kid, I was going to just make them sit there and watch some porn. And then I was going to have
You're welcome to come up, B, and I can explain again. So this is the story of Kevin Ray Underwood. For those of you that are just coming in, we are going to be going through his entire case file over the next 14 days and boots on the ground.
sex with him. And then
We were trying to turn them all over porn, make it voluntary.
I was, kind of hoping that
Let's welcome up our special guest, B.
Hey, how's it going? Or not?
happened, but I figured it probably would.
Welcome up, B. How are you doing this evening? Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, I'm okay. I'm just waking up. I just got off work a little bit ago.
Nice. So, have you heard of the story of Kevin Ray Underwood?
No, what is it?
So, Kevin Ray Underwood was from Purcell, Oklahoma. He was born in 1979, I believe. Let me go back to the beginning. 1979. Hold on. Where's my... Yes, December 19th, 1979. So he's only a few years younger than me at this point. This case took place in 2007, where he was arrested for the murder of a little girl, beautiful little girl, who's up here in the top right-hand corner, Jamie Bolin. And so, you know how like multifamily homes, apartment buildings, how they have like that little corridor in between them?
Yeah, like a fire, basically a place. Yeah,
But it's covered. It's like covered corridor.
yeah.
So basically that's the kind of building they lived in. And she used to ride her bike in there, through the little corridor and around the yard and stuff. And he lived in the downstairs across the hall from her. And so he would see her come and go. And I will go back to, hold on, let me put this down for a minute. And I can give you the background history, since I already gave it once, but I can do it again. So I printed up his whole criminal file, the whole file, from this case, all of his appeals, everything. It's a very, very, very big file. Okay, so his name is Kevin Ray Underwood. Now, this stream is kind of convoluted. It's a little messy, but the future streams, part 1, I actually changed this to 01 just to give you guys an idea of what the next 14 days will be like. And we will start off in piece by piece and go through the entire case. This is just to get everybody reviewed on what the case is about. So this is the gentleman right here. In this bottom right-hand picture is Kevin Ray Underwood. And this is little Jamie Bolin up here in the top right-hand corner. And this is him giving his testimony, his affidavit to the officers of what he did and how he came across it. He was being treated for certain mental disorders. The medications weren't working, and he would take them, when he felt like it instead of, consistently. He was diagnosed later on with like schizophrenia and Asperger's. Okay, so let me go on. So this is Kevin Ray Underwood, born December 19th, 1979, who was convicted of murder from Purcell, Oklahoma. Authorities had sought a missing 10-year-old girl, Jamie Rose Bolin, for whom an Amber Alert had been issued. Underwood, who lived near Bolin in the same apartment complex, was arrested on April 17th, 2006, Underwood admitted to the FBI agents and Oklahoma detectives that he had murdered and attempted to decapitate Bolin, telling them to go ahead and just arrest me. She's in there. I chopped her up. After Underwood's confession, Bolin's corpse, stashed in a large plastic container, was recovered from his bedroom closet. Purcell Police Chief David Tompkins stated that Bolin's murder was a culmination of Underwood's fantasies to kidnap a person, rape them, torture them, kill them, cut their head off, drain their body of the blood, rape their corpse, and eat their corpse, then dispose of the organs and bones.
Jesus.
Underwood was convicted of having bludgeoned Bolin to death with a wooden cutting board. Police stated that they found the meat tenderizer and barbecue skewers at the scene, which was presumed were intended for the use on the victim's corpse. And he didn't want to hurt her body. He wanted to keep it intact. On February 29th, 2008, the jury found him guilty of first-degree murder. The jury recommended the death penalty on March 7th, 2008. On March 3rd, 2008, McLean County District Judge Candace Bullock approved the recommended death sentence. Underwood attempted to appeal his sentence because it would be unconstitutionally cruel and unusual punishment due to his mental illness. He was initially diagnosed with schizophrenia, personality disorder, and his trial, but late at the trial, but then later was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. Oklahoma City federal judge rejected his appeal. On July 1st, 2022, Underwood was one of 25 death row inmates to be scheduled for execution in Oklahoma. He was scheduled to be executed December 7th, 2023. It says that the execution was later postponed due to the request of the Attorney General Drummond, but there is no documentation of that for those that are listening. So I will be boots on the ground December 7th for his execution via lethal injection.
Wow.
Very, very interesting case because he did not have a preference. He wasn't a pedophile. He just wanted to know what the human body tasted like when he could have just assumed and cut off his own toe and done it himself. But he chose to use another human being instead. He got sexual gratifications from his fantasies, very neurotic fantasies. I will continue playing. If you would like me to rewind, I can, but it is trigger warning.
No, you're good.
So you say that you would have to do it by force?
Yeah, most likely. And then, you know, after the sex, it would turn kind of violent. I'd start kind of torturing him a little and stuff like that.
How would you torture them? In your fantasies, what would you do?
Sticking large objects in their anus, causing them pain that way. I had some long barbecue skewers I bought. I was going to poke through their cheeks. I've got in that bag of porn, there's also a Barbie doll head I found on the ground a while back that I stuck some needles in. Kind of illustrates what was in my fantasy. It had like some needles in its cheeks. And
So he has a Barbie doll head that has needles in its cheeks that he wanted to fulfill those fantasies with barbecue skewers. He also wanted to decapitate the child and drain all the blood from her body and place her head on the desk so he could watch her masturbate. He could watch him masturbate. She could watch him masturbate. Yes.
some nails in its eyes, but I wasn't intending on doing that because the torture was kind of a late addition because at first I wanted the body to be pretty much unharmed. Because what I was going to do after that then was I was going to, while they were still alive and gagged, I was going to drape them over the bathtub and cut off their head. And then hang them there and let the blood all drain out, so good and drained out. And I was going to keep the body around for a couple of days. I was going to set the head on my desk so it could like watch me. And, you know, keep the corpse in my bed, sleeping with it, having sex with it for a day or two. And then I was going to start butchering them and cooking them. So,
Did you buy any pots or any special things for that?
just the barbecue skewers and some meat tenderizer powder. And hacksaw to cut open the head to get to the brain because they wanted to eat the brain and the heart and some of the organs.
Yeah, Bill. How are you doing?
I'm sick now.
I told you it was trigger warning.
They just need to end his life and get it over with.
Yeah, this happened in 2006.
I know it's not right legally or morally for some people, but people like this,
It's almost
and
been
I get
20
their-
years. It's
I
taken
get their
almost 20
mental-
years for this family to get justice for such sickness.
Now, he did unalive the little girl, right?
Yes, he did exactly what he said, and her body, she started going through rigor mortis early, and that he wasn't expecting, so he had put her in a bin and had to duct tape it shut because her body was trying to stiffen up, and he couldn't get the Rubbermaid tub closed anymore. He had her in a Rubbermaid tub in his closet.
I say the family gets to choose what happens to him.
Oh, we will be going through that. I have the whole case record of what they wanted, all their statements. We're going to be going through this from the very beginning. This is the preview, the introduction to this story. And then we're going to unfold this story over the next 14 days as we get closer to his execution day, which is coming up in 2 weeks, 13 days from today.
Wow.
So let's finish this video. Get through the gruesome stuff so everybody has can get back to normal thinking.
It's been my experience that a lot of people who like or think about those kind of things maybe experiment with animals. Have you ever experimented with animals?
No, I told the guy earlier that, this, like I said, this is just entirely against my nature. And if, I told him I'm not really religious, but what beliefs I do have would be pretty much best described as Buddhist. I didn't even like stepping on bugs. I didn't.
He says he's Buddhist, but yet he had not 7-day Adventist. They're from Utah. Mormon, 7-day Adventist. Oh, Jehovah. He had Jehovah Witness books. So I do believe that he was Jehovah Witness. Yeah.
Believe in violence or in anything.
He just said he didn't believe in violence.
That's a tough one to believe, but
This happened. So,
Now, after you chop the head off and maybe cook them and stuff, what would you continue on from there?
then it went into disposing of the body. I was probably going to keep the skull, but then I was going to pretty much eat everything except for some of the organs, and those I figured I could put in a trash bag and probably throw away without too much chance of getting caught. So basically all that'd be left was bones, and I was going to try to break the bones up into little pieces so they wouldn't be as visible, and dump them in a ditch somewhere. Or if then that was my original plan. That's what I wanted to do. But
And did you ever write any of this down on your computer?
yeah,
Because they're going to go through your computer really good.
yeah, I already deleted as soon as I never had anything wrote down, but I already deleted a lot of the porn and stuff off my computer.
After this happened,
Yeah, as soon as the cops started sniffing around,
asking.
there's all the porn's there. But I had a lot of in the last couple of months. I've been to a bunch. There's a lot of websites out there where you can download crime scene photos, real dead bodies and stuff like that. And I had a fairly large collection of those. I deleted all of those. And I never had any child pornography, but, and it might still be on there because I think I put it in a different directory than the rest of the porn. I had just a couple, like 4 or 5 pictures I downloaded from like a children's swimwear catalog of like 10-year-old girls in swimsuits.
So there was some sort of child interest,
Yeah, so he's
not
some kind of predator.
necessarily some type of, well, yeah, not necessarily, what most predators would be looking for, but yes, his interest in, you know,
Yeah, but he's being conniving about it. He's basically saying, "Look, I wanted to avoid the police, so he doesn't probably want to go directly to one of those type of sites immediately and risk getting caught." I mean, obviously, he had the interest.
Right.
Fuck this dude.
That's close as I ever had like any child pornography or anything.
I'm sorry, do you have anything on your computer? You sure that you destroyed that stuff? Or did you just go,
Well,
it could still be a burn on your hard drive?
Yeah, they say none of that's permanent unless they claim there's programs now that can make it permanent. But no, all I did was drag it to the trash bin and hit empty trash bin, so it can most likely be recovered probably.
Okay, you didn't go. I forgot what it's called. It starts with an N, but there's a certain program that if you use that, you can really wipe stuff out.
Yeah,
Can you go through that trouble?
There's programs like that all over. I see.
that would be Norton, correct?
Well, there's a number of them, but see, that right there tells me that he wanted to get it. He knows the programs exist. He just didn't care to try to use them. It's like he wanted somebody to know.
Right. Well, earlier in the stream, I was explaining that there's like 3 types of criminals. And, you have like the organized ones that really plan things out and they're really clean cut about it. And then you have the ones that are like the panic ones that do it out of panic. Then you have the ones that are like the mix of the two that kind of plan it, but then they panic. And they drop something or they leave something. Yeah.
Advertised, but no, I don't have any of those.
If they're going to think about this, they're really going to pull this stuff up. When did you think you first started downloading this kind of stuff? Because they're going to know for a fact.
Yeah, well, the cannibalism thing started probably a year or so ago. Might have been while I was on the medication the first time, but I'm not sure. I don't think so, but it might have been.
Now, Kevin, for the record, you're currently taking your medication, is that correct?
Yeah.
Did you take it today?
Yeah.
And you say it works for you?
It doesn't really help with the anxiety. I'm still shy and I still can't really talk to people, but I don't have like the panic attacks and I don't get depressed about, not having a social life.
Well, are you aware of your actions and fully and understanding what you're doing?
As far as I know, yeah.
So this is the point where that's what I'm saying. Like, we can all have anxiety. We can all have, like sporadic moments of distress when we're in a position that we can't control, especially if we have like serious control issues. That doesn't necessarily mean that we need to be on certain medications, because medications can truly affect you mentally. And if you're not medicated correctly for the right symptoms, it could make things worse.
He's full of shit, though. Unless this interviewer is related to him or a lifelong friend, he just said that the medication doesn't work and he still can't talk to people. Yet he's spilling this horrible crime to what's presumed to be a total stranger. He's full of shit.
And it's like he doesn't even flinch until he gets to talking about the actual act that he did. We haven't even got that far yet. When we get to the point where he's like, she wasn't really my type. She was overweight. She had really thin hair. And then he was talking about, we'll get into it, how messy it was. It's literally started making him vomit everywhere. So in my mind, I have to think about, he has remorse. Most psychopaths and schizophrenia, they don't really have that remorse. That
It's a facade. He's putting up a facade.
I think it's a facade. Yeah.
Now, so
I
Kevin,
think it might have maybe lowered my inhibitions a little or something like that,
maybe so, you might
He
have
recognizes what he's doing as being against the law.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, is there any questions that you have about that?
No, I know what I did was wrong, and I know that I deserve to be punished for it.
So the deal with cannibalism may have been
Right there, he blatantly admits that he knows what he did is wrong. Someone that would have that type of mental condition would not even understand that what they did was wrong.
Like I said,
Like they wouldn't even comprehend it.
no, he's full of shit.
Yeah. And that's why that he was not allowed to get any kind of plea bargaining. The judge was like, no, we're not going to do that.
The only remorse he has is that he got caught. He
Mhm.
thought he was going to outsmart the system. He had his little plan and it didn't work.
Amen.
it's all okay, but
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't something I was kind of interested in, kind of curious as to what it would taste like, and, it kind of aroused me, and I, kind of masturbated to some of the pictures, because I mean, there's this website I found, I don't even remember what it is now, where you download lots of, like fake computer graphic images of like women on spits and stuff like that, and, cooking over a fire or whatever.
you found it sexually arousing.
Yeah, I'm very. But it was the thought of.
So he's aroused by masochism. How do you say that? Masochism? Masochist. But I think, isn't masochist? Isn't that like self-mutilation and abuse?
I mean, there's people that are into different types of things. He's just he's got his weird little kink, but the man is clearly he's fully capable of realizing what he did and how wrong it is. He's trying to look. Sounds like he's trying to lay himself down the basis, though, to say that he was mentally insane. Oh, I didn't take my meds. Now that I'm on my meds, I do this. The guy's full of shit.
And so he's a gentleman that's maybe only had sex 2 or 3 times in his entire life with one girl, one and only time that he was ever with a woman. He claims that he was just too shy previous to that or after. So he was also extremely sexually frustrated.
That's not how that works. So you don't become more shy as you get older. He's just this guy is.
I know, piece of work.
He's full of shit.
Killing someone, though, at the same time. It was, in my mind, it was like, well, I'd only do it, if the woman, wanted to die and wanted me to eat her. I wouldn't, go out and kill someone, murder's wrong. I wouldn't ever murder someone. That's, the way I thought at the time. But I've been surfing internet porns for probably 12, 13 years. And, there's a lot of weird stuff on the internet. And so as the years went by, I just kind of got kind of desensitized to normal porn and just had to keep going after like harder and harder core stuff until it finally got to kind of this cannibalism point. And then here recently after that, I started, kind of seriously thinking about it. And
so the way he's talking, he's laying the groundwork for his defense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's it's like he read some psychology books. He's not a true psychologist by any means, but he knows the key things to say to make it sound like one way or another.
Yeah.
He's explaining the reasoning. He's giving reasoning behind his behavior as he tells the story.
Exactly.
It's like, it's
basically like he's narrating everything for them to put it together so that he could have that insanity defense.
Yeah, this
exactly.
guy's a dirtball.
develop an interest in these pictures of real death and cannibalism. And
The reason I'm saying that for those that are just stepping in is because the way he's explaining himself is way too clear. People who have truly are like schizophrenia, they would not be able to vocalize their emotions or their feelings or their thoughts this clearly at all.
So yeah, it would be like a child predator saying, yes, the reason I attack children is because I was attacked as a child, and it goes back to when I was in 7th grade, and this happened to me, and then giving a long drawn out statement explaining the psychological trauma that he's incurred that caused him to do that. This guy, he's just laying the groundwork. He's mad because he got caught. He thought he was going to outsmart him, obviously. So he did his research even. The cops can do this. They have the ability to do that. The guy researched the crime. That's all that happened.
You truly missed the part where, like he went and talked to the police and he was like, nope, that's not what she was wearing. She was wearing this. And that was what the first trigger was, because she had came home. He had been watching her for a while, because they lived right next to each other, and he knew what her schedule was. And so he knew that she would come home. Her dad wouldn't be there. She would change her clothes and she would go outside and play. And she would always swing by his apartment and be like, oh, can I pet your pet rat? He has a little pet rat. And
he's a child predator.
Yeah.
That's all
he's
there is.
Just a predator. He's just a human predator. I think he's a child predator myself. Even though he claims that he's not, but he's alleging that he's not.
What kind of grown man looks at pictures of children in swimwear?
None that I know. None that I want to know.
Have you ever read
gore and gruesome things? And
Have you ever read psychology books or
here you
internet
go
sites, and just out of curiosity, reading about people with like interests, or to say, hey, somebody like me who likewise people who would get sexual gratifications out of possible cannibalism, or viewing women on spits or things like that.
that site, that I downloaded like all the fake pictures from, it was a message board mostly, and picture it was mostly text, but people would it's like here's this picture I made with my computer, and it was all like people with the same interests, and pretty much probably 95% of them, from what they said on there anyway, were of the same mindset as me. I would never do this, but it's fun to fantasize about it.
It's a fun fantasy.
It's it's an interesting fantasy that gets me off, but I would never kill anyone. And given the chance, I would probably not ever actually eat someone. Was most of their opinions.
Well, then he should have started with himself. He has plenty of toes and fingers to start with. Just saying. Brings all new meaning to lady fingers.
So you would masturbate if you to this fantasy of cannibalization, like seeing a woman on a spit or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. When did it first enter your mind that yes, I'm going to do this today?
Well, not today, but
I'm sorry, when did that happen?
Well,
Was it Wednesday? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
what day was that for the record?
Wednesday.
You know what day of the April, or of April?
This
Today's
is
the
the
14th.
14th, and then the 11th.
Maybe Friday the 14th, Thursday the
Thursday the 13th, Wednesday the 12th. I'm bad with dates.
Well, I didn't understand. Wednesday the 12th?
Yeah.
You know for sure it was a Wednesday.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
definitely Wednesday because I'm off on Wednesday and I was off work that day.
Okay. Go ahead. Did you plan it for your day off?
It was, I've been planning it. Like I said, I've been planning it for months, buying supplies, and trying to get the exact plan.
You notice the trash can sitting in front of him, right? That's what this is. This is where it gets gruesome, so trigger warning.
And down to what I do and how I dispose of it afterwards.
And the exact victim.
And like I said, I kind of wanted her, but it didn't really matter. I mean, that's to tell the truth. That's the main reason I was hanging out in front of my apartment, is to watch all the kids and watch all the people come and go. And
Again,
I,
he just
you
like
know, I
watching all the
pretty much
kids.
planned all along to probably get a kid, just mainly because they'd be easier to grab and easier to get rid of afterwards, smaller, and, you know, put up less of a fight.
So he just admitted that yes, he was watching the kids because they're easier to grab and you know their bodies are smaller than a human, like
Premeditated
an
it.
adult. Yeah, this is completely premeditated.
But there was a few, you know, girls my age would be like, you know, well, she's really attractive. I wouldn't mind, you know, killing and eating her and having sex with her and all that. But
Did you find her attractive?
not really. No, she was kind of.
So now he's contradicted himself. He goes, I wouldn't mind, you know, mucking her out and eating her. So he says one thing and then he says something else. Because just earlier he just said, I would never really do that. Remember?
Yeah.
Homely. But that was part of me that, yeah, kind of found her attractive, but at the same time, not really.
What did you mean by homely?
I don't know, she just had like, she was almost bald. She had like really thin hair, and
What color was it?
just light red, that's almost a blondish red. And, you know, she was a little chubby and, you know, just kind of wasn't my type, basically.
And you said again, you thought, how old was she?
I would have sworn she was at least 12, maybe 13.
So you were pretty confident you knew she was a kid. I mean, there wasn't any question.
Yeah. I mean, some of the kids that when I was first thinking about it, you know, I was like looking at it, you know, like 5-year-old boy running around out there playing all day. So I mean, the age
5-year-old boy outside playing.
and the gender didn't really matter to me.
Gender didn't matter.
Now, when did you come up with Wednesday would be the day?
Basically, the incident had happened. I mean, I said there was plenty of times before that I could have grabbed her if I wanted, or grabbed some other kid, but especially her because, like I say, she got to where she talked to me, and she'd actually been in my apartment a couple of times before that. She'd come down because, like, one time I was standing out there with my pet rat, holding it and had it on my shoulder. And, you know, she thought it was cute and she wanted to pet it. And then, like, later that evening, I was still had my front door open, but I was like sitting on the couch watching TV. And she just kind of wandered into my apartment and, you know, said, "Can I pet your rat?" So, you know, she seemed like a very trusting kid.
Sure, how long ago that was? To put it in perspective for me.
Week, maybe two, probably about a week.
So this little girl was attracted to the fact that he had a cute little pet rat, and that's what drew her in to building that friendship and that rapport with him, to where she felt comfortable of, you know, coming over and being like, "Hey, yeah, can I come and check out your little pet rat?"
But yeah, she was a very trusting kid. If it hadn't been me, it could have ended up being someone else. Because, like I said, she just wandered
If
into
it
my
wasn't me, it'd be
apartment.
somebody else.
I didn't, you know, force her in there or even ask her in.
What great
And she
logic.
came in for a few minutes and, you know, looked at my rat and fed it a food pallet. And then Tuesday night, the night before this happened, she came down. I guess they didn't have a phone upstairs because I'd see her occasionally go to there's like a payphone on the other side of the compound. She'd go down there and use that. And she was going down there to her father sent her down there to call Mazio's and order some pizza for her. But I was standing there in my doorway, and she's just like, you know, "Can I use your phone?" And so I let her use my phone. She stayed outside though. She's like, "Oh, I don't want to get in trouble for coming into your apartment." So she did step in.
Cordless phone.
Yeah,
Okay.
she stepped in for a minute, but then like once I gave her the phone, she was like, "Oh, I better get outside."
So now her parent has said to her, like, don't go in strangers' apartments. But, you know, being a kid, she's like, but he's not a stranger anymore because I've met him a few times. I've been in there before and I've got to play with this pet rat. So she's completely innocent minded. And I have to remind you, I know we tell our kids, you know, don't talk to strangers, don't do this, don't do that. But predators have a way of manipulating their minds and letting them know or letting them think that it's okay, that they're safe people, even when they're not.
And so, you know, I had plenty of chances to get her. But, you know, like I said, every time I'd be thinking, you know, "Oh, I'm going to do this. I want to get her, definitely her."
See, premeditated. I'm definitely going to get her. So you have to remember when he tried to appeal this and say that it was, you know, not constitutional and it's this and that in his appeal for the death sentence, he premeditated it. He is of sound mind and body to a point.
Then I'd see her and, you know, be, oh, I'm going to get her this time. And then be like, then I'd see her though, and like, no, I can't hurt her. All that. I mean, that happened pretty much every kid that I, you know, kind of went out at the last minute, but especially her because I kind of liked her. But then you have this Wednesday she came in. Now she came home from school.
Let me ask you this real quick. Going back to Tuesday night, and she came into your house and used the phone. During the overnight hours when you were home and into the next day, did you engage in any fantasy on the internet? I mean, did that kind of turn you on? The thought of, yeah, I could have almost done it. And did you fantasize about it over the night, or did you go to websites tonight and then in the morning until the next day?
No, I hadn't been to any of the websites really recently because I just downloaded a bunch of pictures of my hard drive and I looked at it. So I hadn't really been to any of the websites. And most of it probably been a week or more. So.
Were you looking at it on your
Were you having a thought, B?
No.
hard drive?
Yeah, I had them all stored on my computer.
Well, on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, were you looking at them on your hard drive?
Probably not, because another thing that kept it from happening so long is, you know, I'd be standing there in the doorway fantasizing about it, you know, preparing to grab a kid, and I'd get so turned on I'd end up masturbating, and, you know, like as soon as I had an orgasm,
Is that the way the word?
I'd just be hit with disgust. I mean, like, my God, what am I thinking about? You know, you can't do that. It's horrible.
So now please keep in mind when we do that act of masturbation, it lets off hormones like oxytocin, which puts you in like, I call it like a food coma. I don't know what men call it, but it's an oxytocin high. And it relaxes all of your muscles. And so it probably puts his brain into like a minor brain fog to where he thinks back into reality. Like, what am I doing? Does that make sense, B?
No, none of it makes any sense, but yeah.
I mean, the point where...
No, I understand what you're saying. I'm just...
Yeah. So the hormones that are released are counteracting the hormones that are released that are not normal. And so it probably like kind of, yes, this video is for educational purposes only. Kaylee, it's so good to see you. She'll probably really, really enjoy this series that I'm going to be doing over the next 2 weeks till his execution. But okay, so when those hormones are released, it kind of puts you in like a little bit of a brain fog for normal people. For him, it probably clears out that the thoughts that he was having to where he has the normalcy, the more normal thoughts, thinking process.
I think the guy's full of it still. I think I don't think he's releasing any kind of anything in his system. Although he says that he didn't read any psychology books, he does admit that he read the stories of other people who are into that. Mm-hmm. So he's basically reiterating, you know, what he may have read from someone else. He just wants to appear. This dude's a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's usually what would happen.
Let me ask you, when you masturbate, how would you clean it up? What would you do? Would you masturbate in a towel, or would you masturbate into a jug?
No, usually Kleenex or onto the floor, and then I'd clean it up with a wet rag.
You just flush it down the toilet, or?
I usually use a wet rag, and then I just rinse the rag out and then wash it when I did my laundry.
Okay. So, did you masturbate about it Tuesday night?
Probably.
After she left?
I'm sure I probably did.
Then
no, Tuesday night, because I think when she came down to use my phone, I had already, I think, masturbated probably for the day. I wasn't even really, planning it anymore at the time. I was just kind of standing there for real, just kind of hanging out, getting some air. And, she's like, "Can I use your phone?"
What'd you do Tuesday night before you went to sleep?
I don't remember. Probably was playing the game I usually play on the line.
How late did you stay up, you think, playing?
I'm usually in bed by 8 or 8:30.
Because you get up so early.
Yeah, because I get up at 3. That's what I'm
What's the game?
It was an interview. You just you play it right there on the computer. You don't download anything. You just go to the website, and it's fully contained in the website. It's called Kingdom of Loathing.
Yeah.
It was
Did he say Kingdom of Loathing?
That's what it sounded like. Yeah.
Thank you, Kaylee, for dropping your link. I appreciate you.
it had nothing to do with.
Kaylee, have you heard of this gentleman? Kevin Ray Underwood. Have you heard of this case?
With this, I hate for it to even. It's probably going to end up being bad publicity for this.
So I'm not sure how long you've been here. So I will give you the quick rundown. She may have been listening on fast forward, like
She's probably
10
creeping.
times. Yeah, 10 times speed so she could catch up. So Kevin Ray Underwood, born December 19th, 1979, was convicted of murder, and he was from Purcell, Oklahoma. The crime he committed is the worst I have ever heard in all the time that I've ever listened to crime, studied, etc. Unfreaking real. Authorities had sought missing young lady, 10-year-old Jamie Rose Bolin, from whom an Amber Alert had been issued. Underwood, who lived near Bolin in the same apartment complex, was arrested on April 17th, 2006. Underwood admitted to the FBI agents and Oklahoma detectives that he had murdered and attempted to decapitate Bolin, telling them, "Go ahead and arrest me. She's in there. I chopped her up." After Bolin's confession, Bolin's corpse was stashed in a large plastic container and was recovered from his bedroom room closet. Oh, I'll have to say happy birthday to her. Purcell Police Chief David Tompkins stated that Bolin's murder was a culmination of Underwood's fantasy to kidnap a person, rape the person, torture the person, kill the person, cut off the person's head, drain their body of all their blood, rape the corpse's body, eat the corpse, and then dispose of their organs and bones. Underwood was convicted of having bludgeoned Bolin to death with a wooden cutting board. Police stated that he had found meat tenderizer and the barbecue skewers at the scene, which was presumed for intended use on the victim's corpse. He went to trial on February 29th, 2008. He found him guilty of first-degree murder. A jury recommended the death penalty. On March 7th, 2008, on April 3rd, 2008, McLean County District Judge Candice Bullock approved the recommended death sentence. Underwood attempted to appeal his sentence because it was unconstitutionally cruel and unusual punishment due to his mental illness that he's claiming. He was initially diagnosed with schizophrenia disorder at his trial and then later diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. An Oklahoma federal judge rejected his appeal. He sounds perfectly sane to me, as sane can be for someone who would commit such a heinous crime. On July 1st, 2022, Underwood was one of 25 death row inmates to be scheduled for execution in Oklahoma. He was scheduled to be executed on December 7th, 2023, which is 2 weeks away. So we will be boots on the ground at his lethal injection. Exactly, Kaylee. So, Kaylee, over the next 2 weeks, we're doing from the beginning, his childhood history, through his early adulthood, to throughout his whole case, all of the evidence that supported this case, through his lethal injection, and a follow-up for memory of this beautiful little girl that for no reason just wanted to pet his little pet rat. It was taken from, our world, our community.
Did you freeze? Is it just me up here? We lost Slinky. Hello, hello. Am I connected in any kind of way? Can anybody hear me? Okay, we just lost Miss Slinky. Come on, Kaylee. I am the greatest person you know. It's too late in the day to be getting harassed by Kaylee. Just saying.
We'll see.
Until I started hanging out, doing all this. If I wasn't at work, I was probably on there playing the game.
It's a hobby.
Yeah, it was my main hobby.
Now, how much sleep did you get Tuesday night, Wednesday till Wednesday morning? If you went to bed at 8 on Tuesday.
I was off Wednesday, so I might have stayed up later, but no, I'm pretty sure I went to bed about 8 Tuesday night. And since I was off, I slept until I think 7 o'clock Wednesday morning.
And go from there. What happened?
Well, from 7 to about 11 o'clock, I played that game. And then, I took a shower and brushed my teeth and shaved and everything, get ready to over to my parents' house to drop some laundry off.
Now, he did mention that he was a mama's boy also, so that's another red flag. There might be mama issues. Well, most definitely there's some mama issues.
About 11:45, noon, something like that. Because my mom still does all my laundry. Because I was going to do it up there, and they've got a lot of mattresses. She said, "Oh, you just live 2 blocks away. I'll do it for you." So I took my laundry there and dropped it off for her to do it while I went shopping. And so from about noon to probably 2:30, something like that, I was driving. Actually, I didn't leave town like I told you earlier. I don't know why I said that. I just went here in town to United at the Super Thrift. Just did my normal grocery shopping was all it was.
And United is a
Supermarket up there next to the Walmart. Green
Did you buy anything?
Yeah. Actually, I can't even barely remember what I did that day. No, I didn't even go to United. I went to Super Thrift and Dollar Store, the new dollar store they just built. And I got got a few things at each place, just like I said, just normal food, no grocery stuff, some cereal, some milk, some bread. And then, I went back after that. I went back to my parents' place about what time was that? I'm so tired right now. I'm having trouble remembering what I did. Getting the time straight anyway. Actually, yeah, it was about 3 o'clock when I went over to my parents' place. It was I got back home from shopping about 2 o'clock. Then got online and talked to that girl in California, Melissa, for about 45 minutes or so until about 2:40.
So her name was Melissa.
Yeah, who is that? I see.
That
He said,
that was the girl that he was very interested in. Yes. Oh, Kaylee says you need to pay your child support fee.
yeah, I don't have any kids, so
45 to
You have
50.
adopted Kaylee.
I went back to my parents' place to pick up my laundry, and also they had said, come back when my sister got out from school. She wanted me to help her with something on her homework or something like that. And so
he hasn't thought about doing this to his own family. He loves his family very much. It's just total strangers or somewhat total strangers.
went over there. I was there from about 10 to 3 to about 3:30. And when I got back home about 3:30, I noticed that the girl's bike was gone. She'd gone somewhere on her bike, which kind of struck me as odd because most days it'd be closer to 3.
Kaylee, to the best of my knowledge, it's only happened once. This was the one and only time.
So I've got a question. I wonder if he's obviously he mentioned went through his computer and looked up all this stuff. It makes me wonder because he mentioned the way he mentioned it as if he almost wants to get caught. Like, oh, I just moved it to the recycle bin. Well, you can empty your recycle bin and stuff still be there. Or if you just click on the recycle bin, the stuff you put in there is still there. And it makes me wonder if he may have put those types of things in there after the fact, and he's just a chomo that got caught or was close to getting caught and wanted a way to, again, cover his ass. Oh, I got this mental illness, look at my recycle bin. I deleted these things. The guy sounds like he's full of shit. Like none of it makes any real sense.
I agree.
3:45, 4 o'clock before she'd even show up coming home from school. She walked from school. She walked home from school. I don't know why she didn't ride her bike, but so I knew that meant she had come home. And because what I really wanted to do, I kind of planned it for that day, but I've been planning it for like every day for like a month pretty much.
Okay, so he said 2 weeks, then he said a month. He said he would never do it. Then he said he only thought about it. Now he's saying, no, I really did plan it. This guy's all over the place. All over the place. And yeah, I printed up this whole entire case. Everything. All the evidence, everything.
I planned, to get her as she, walked in from school before she had a chance to even go upstairs and, so it would look like she never came home from school is what I wanted. But I was surprised and, kind of going to learn that she'd already been upstairs and, come home and been upstairs and gone again. So I hung around waiting for her, and about 10, 15 minutes after that, probably about 3:45 or so, something like that, she, came back home, just she didn't chain her bike up, she just propped it up against the stairwell there and went upstairs and came back down about 4 o'clock in a new outfit.
She had changed clothes.
Yeah, the first time she came home.
So he paid enough attention to her that he knew what she was wearing when the first time she came home to the time that this happened. The triggering part for the officers was that he knew that she changed clothes. That means they knew that he had been watching her. Hence why they wanted to, investigate his house.
But the other triggering part is that all of these heinous crimes that he does, he mentions that he masturbates. They excite him extremely. He gets extremely excited. That's
Yes.
not something you do because you're mentally ill. That's your thing.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? It's not. It's not. Oh, you don't see a serial killer on TV or on the news that is rubbing one out every time he unalives somebody. The guy he's trying to cover his ass.
Mhm.
Before she went and changed clothes, she stopped. She saw me stand there, and she's just like, "Oh, this is horrible." And I came home from school and realized I'd forgot my house keys at home and had to go back and get them. And it's so hot today, and I have to go up a big hill. And she was just complaining about how hot she was, and she couldn't believe how hot it was around here. She said she didn't think it ever got that hot in Dibble, where she used to live. And then she went upstairs and came back down in a new outfit and with a mug of ice milk, which the mug's also in the bag with the bicycle parts. And she came down again, started talking about,
Her mic was still unlocked right there.
yeah, I was still sitting there unlocked, which was good because that had been my plan all along, was to take the bike too. So I looked her, if I couldn't get her on her way home from school to take the bike, so it would look like she, was out on her bike and got kidnapped or run off or something like that.
So he had planned to make it a point to make it look like that she had taken off on her bike to disappear. Like she had got kidnapped out riding her bike. Not that it was close to home as your next door neighbor. Thank you, Kaylee. Good to see you, Coin Dragon.
Anyway, she came downstairs and was still, she's like, "Oh, there's nothing when it's this hot, nothing good like a good, glass of ice milk." And she, kind of chatted for a minute and then asked to come inside and see my rat again. And she just sat there on the floor looking at my rat. And about the only TV I ever watch is cartoons, Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon, and SpongeBob was on. And so she was kind of sitting there watching that, and we were talking about the show a little. And she was in my apartment probably a good 15 minutes. And after she'd been in there a few minutes, when she first came in, I was like, "Oh, that was my chance." But, then I had to say, "No, I can't do it." And I just kind of struggled with myself the whole time she was in there. And
It was a struggle between right and wrong.
or kind of, both that and, not wanting to get caught. But
Trigger. Not wanting to get caught.
That's his only real struggle.
That's his only real struggle. He is of sound mind. He uses the medication as an excuse. He uses the mental illness as an excuse. I'm not saying anybody that commits these heinous crimes are of sound mind and body, but they are of sound mind and body enough to be convicted. Especially one that can articulate as well as he can. He doesn't seem to have a problem articulating at all. Comparatively speaking to other videos of the interrogation of people that are truly schizophrenic.
Like I said, he's giving excuses for everything that he does as he tells the
He's
story.
giving reasons. Mm-hmm.
Let's be real. It's excuses.
But yeah, it was partly because,
Exactly.
I can't do this. I don't want to do it. But then, I want to do this.
And there's a little bit of fear like, hey, if I do this, I might get caught.
Yeah. That was a large part of it too. But anyway, when I even had I had all the stuff. I had all the stuff sitting there handy on that entertainment center right by my door. I'd had like for the last month I'd had a piece of duct tape stuck there, so I could just grab it, slap the tape over their mouth, and also the handcuffs sitting there on the shelf, so I could yank them in and restrain them hopefully before they had the time.
So he was already prepared. He already had the handcuffs and the duct tape ready. So if one came by, he could just slap the duct tape on their mouth. And I mean, was it like? Was it ripped off the roll and like pinned to the counter or pinned to the doorway? So all he had to do was literally slap it on their lips.
Yeah, but you could even think about that bullshit.
I mean, that's some serious planning right there.
Right, but if I worked on cars and things like that. If you take a piece of duct tape and you pull it away from the rest of the roll, and you just stick it somewhere, over time that glue is going to dry up. I mean, it'll have some stickiness, but it's not going to, you're not going to tape someone's mouth shut with it. The guy's full of shit.
Oh, but he did. He did. He had to, because
but
she kept, no, it gets, I'm telling you, this is mild.
I'm not saying he didn't do it. What I'm saying is it wasn't
No,
there.
you have to understand why he did it. It wasn't to keep her quiet. It's because he would suffocate her, she would die, and she would gasp, like she would come, like she would start breathing randomly again. We're almost done.
I'm yelling. And also, it had been just 2 or 3 nights before that I, suddenly thought of and it was mainly something I had reserved for if I did grab an adult, something to subdue him. I tried to find something heavy I could hopefully hit him on the head and knock him out with. And the best thing I had was a slightly heavy wooden cutting board in the kitchen. So I had that sitting on the entertainment center at that time too. And after she'd been in there a few minutes, I kind of...
So it'd be ready, so you'd have an exit right there at you.
Yeah, just kind of like yank him in and whack him over the head. But I hadn't planned on doing that if it was a kid, because if it was a kid, like I said, I wanted to keep him conscious and make him watch porn.
So he does have pedophilia issues because he said he wanted to sit there and make them watch porn. So he's contradicting himself. So these are reasons why the judge did what the judge did and said, no, you have to remember, the jury listened to these same things. The jury listened to, his statements on the stand, his statements during interrogation. And the way that he's portraying it in one sense, but then he goes back and contradicts it with something else that is more viable, then I wouldn't really hurt somebody. It was just a fantasy. I really wouldn't have done this. And then it's completely premeditated.
I mean, in reality, he like I said, it's like he wants to cover up the fact that he truly is a pedo.
Yeah.
I mean, even insane, psychological schizo, whatever. They don't want to force a child to watch that type of, content. I'm trying to keep it clean here, but you don't want to force no even remotely close to normal person that may have some psychological issues isn't going it just pisses me off. I've got an uncle that suffers from mental health. Never as a child did that man ever try to force me to watch adult films. You know what I'm saying? It's not what they do unless they are truly a pedophile.
Correct. And so these were the items that were retrieved during the investigation via the search warrant of his home. A black duffel bag containing bike parts, a mug from the closet, a bicycle frame with one tire from under the bed, duct tape from the plastic tote, bike chain from the stairwell, knife and sheath from the dresser drawer in the bedroom, duct tape from the bookshelf in the living room, one roll of duct tape from the bedroom on the bookshelf, duct tape and tissue from the kitchen trash, wiped with blood like stained from the kitchen trash, one plastic trash bag wrapper, Ace hardware, scrapings from the wall near the vanity closet in the bedroom, blood like stains, sample from the wall near the vanity closet in the bedroom, blood like stains, sample from the bathroom, body of Jamie Rose Bolin in tote, blue panties, blue tank top with green lace, white towel with stripes, striped skirt, eyeglasses, paper from the top Chester drawer of the bedroom, computer manuals, one CD, one piece of paper with passwords, receipts and paper notes from the top chest of drawers, women's underwear from the bottom drawers of the dresser, knife from the desk in the bedroom with one box, 3 pieces of mail from the bedroom, knife from the top of the entertainment center. So he had these scattered through about the house in case he ever needed one. He would have one readily available. skewers from the drawer by the refrigerator in the kitchen, spiral notebook from the closet in the bedroom, sex toys from the closet in the vanity area, manila envelope with 1 CD from shelf in living room, McDonald's sack from vanity in the closet, 1 plastic filing system from the bottom dresser drawer in the bedroom, 1 plastic bag with possible porn videos from living room, 3 swords, 1 from love seat in living room, 2 from the bedroom vanity closet, 2 notebooks from the bedroom desk, toolbox with miscellaneous tools, including a hacksaw, compact box with sex toys, handcuffs, and Barbie doll from bedroom closet, 3 books from bookshelf in bedroom, incense tray, Jehovah Witness books, checkbook, bank statements, incense sticks, bottle of meat, tenderizer, white from kitchen area, cutting board from the kitchen, 1 Apple computer, 1 USB drive, 1 digital concept camera, 1 Nikon digital camera, several CDs, 2 prescription bottles of Kevin Underwood's 1 empty blister pack of Lexapro.
So I got more questions. First off, the blister pack would basically say that he is taking his meds.
Yes, but as it's stated here later on, he's not taking them as they're prescribed. He's taking them as needed, and you can't do that when it comes to mental meds.
But I noticed they said panties multiple times. So did he have someone else who's in there?
He had women's panties in there.
So is he a cross-dresser?
He's bi-curious, he said.
That's why he said it didn't matter if it was a boy or a girl.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we're almost finished with this one. So,
But I would also kind of, also was, as they were watching the porn, depending on how old they were, like telling them what was going on. Like, well, this is sex. The guy does this and the woman does this. And, this is called an orgasm. Kind of like teaching them. But, and hopefully they'd want to try it for themselves. Something like that. But anyway, then, so I kind of, once she got in there, I kind of was like, it was more of the kind of regrets and fears. And I was like, I better just knock her out, and, then restrain her while she's unconscious. Get her clothes off and everything while she's unconscious. And I'm not even going to bother with the porn. I'm just going to, knock her out and rape her. So after she'd been there a few minutes, I kind of, made my way around behind her and was just kind of standing behind her, watching, talking to her as we were watching the show.
Again, I cannot express enough. This is trigger warning. This is, I believe, is where he goes into detail about the actual act.
Kind of, fighting with myself. I grabbed reached out there once and grabbed the cutting board, and I put it down on the couch. I couldn't do it, and so for like 5 minutes I just stood there, going back and forth, picking it up, putting it back down, and saying, and finally I was just, look, either do it or tell her to get the hell out of the apartment, and finally I did it, and as soon as I hit her.
What did she say when you hit her?
That's something that's, haunted me ever since it happened. She started yelling, "I'm sorry," which, I'm just like, what is she sorry for? She didn't do anything wrong. It's me, I'm the one that should be sorry. She was just, wrapped her on her head. It made a loud noise. If there was anyone home, apparently no one had been home in the apartment next to me or above me, or I would have been caught for sure, because it did knock her out. She started screaming.
Kevin, how did you hold the board? I'm not clear to me how you did her.
I had to, it was like a square, like a little hole cut out, like a handle.
Uh-huh.
And I just held her by the handle and like whacked.
With one hand like a...
Yeah, just like whacked her upside the side of the head.
Where did you hit her on the head? Can you put...
I have to pause for a minute. So one time didn't knock her out, and he hit her, and she's like thinking to herself, like, what did I do? I'm sorry.
Because she's a child.
And she's probably been spanked before, like by her mom. I believe her mom had issues. That's why her dad had custody. And, she's like, what did I do?
Put her on my head where you hit her.
I was standing behind her, so yeah, it was Probably about like that, something like that.
Right here.
Yeah, maybe down farther on the side, but it's probably kind of the side top. Because I think I did it with this hand. It was probably this hand because I'm right-handed and that was my stronger hand. So yeah, it was probably this.
And you were behind her.
Yeah, I was behind her, just whack.
And she was where?
Sitting in the floor, like in front of the TV
Okay.
and the rat cage.
Okay.
Just right up against the rat cage almost. I had to, I had to kind of wait for her to get in a position. I didn't want her to like fall over on the rat cage.
I do believe that he even put SpongeBob on the television to keep her intrigued with watching television while playing with the rat.
So I whacked her with that, and she's like, ow, and started crying, and she's like, oh God, I'm sorry, my God, I'm sorry, and just saying I'm sorry over and over mostly. And so I whacked her again, and she jumped up, and I couldn't believe it didn't knock her out. I hit her. It's all kind of a blur once it started happening, but I hit her, I think 3 times, maybe 4. But
With all, each time with the same cutting board?
yeah,
As hard as you could.
yeah, I mean, every time I got hard, because I was like,
She's not going down.
yeah, so I'm like, why isn't she unconscious
So
yet?
if you think it hits somebody, hit her, gonna go. Oh, you see on TV.
Yeah.
Did she resist?
Yeah, she, like I said, she jumped, she was yelling, God, I'm sorry, and, let me go, I won't tell. And, after I hit her a couple times, I finally just had to, jump up and grab her, and I couldn't believe how strong she was, I barely held her down. I like to never got her down to the ground, I didn't.
So his attempts to bludgeon her did not work. He had to wrestle this little girl to the ground. She was fighting for every moment of her life.
didn't want to choke her because, like I said, I wanted the body to be pretty much perfect. So I didn't want to leave the marks around her neck or anything. So I just cruned my hand over.
Were you behind her? Or were you looking, did you ever on the ground?
No, I was. Like I said, she got up and was trying to run around, and I grabbed her from behind, was kind of hugging her with mouth over her hand over her mouth and nose. And eventually, after she started getting weaker and stuff, and we flopped around. I've got pretty bad carpet burns on my knees from it because so she put up a.
Oh my gosh, I swear I think he was just proud of that. He's like, wow, I got pretty good carpet burns from that. Did you catch that? And like he wanted to show him his leg. He's not remorseful. He doesn't handle the gore very well, but he's not remorseful for what he did to this baby.
Just for me to understand, let's see, this is your right leg.
Both of them, but this one's the worst.
So you were wearing shorts at the time?
Yeah.
And you're telling me this is from the incident with.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you were on.
That's from struggling. Yeah, struggling with her on the ground. Because then, once I finally got her down to the ground, finally got her, we struggled. It took me probably 15, 20 minutes to kill her. To get her completely dead. Because then even after, I struggled with her for a minute, finally got her down to the ground on her stomach. And so I was kind of sitting on her back, with my mouth over. No, she was on her back, but I was sitting on her, clamping my back.
So you were down her face and you were covering her mouth.
Yeah, kind of sitting on her, not really putting my full weight on her, kind of like on my knees, but a little bit of my weight on her stomach to hold her down. And
did you feel aroused at that point?
very, by the time I got done killing her, my underwear was soaked. When you get aroused, it will start, kind of leaking a little.
Pre-ejaculation.
Yeah, it was. My underwear was pretty much soaked by the time she, even before she was completely dead. But,
So are you telling me you were sexually gratified during this struggle?
pretty much.
Did you have an orgasm or was it just?
I didn't orgasm.
What, B? B? I don't know where B went.
But I was, very, very
Yeah,
aroused.
right.
Yeah. And, just standing there behind her, debating on killing her or not, I started to get an erection. But anyway, yeah, then she still, I mean, when she was down on the floor, she kept me almost slipping out of my grip, and she ended up, yeah, on her stomach at one point. Yeah, she ended up on her stomach, because I remember there's a toolbox sitting there by the edge of the love seat. And, that was kind of in like her last moment. She just started kind of reaching around, grabbing things, and she like opened that toolbox. And then she pretty much went limp. And I laid there on her for a good, couple of minutes more to make sure she was dead. Because she'd still, every now and then, cramping through she would still get kind of a little bit of air sometimes through her fingers. My grip slipped a little bit. So I laid there for a while. And finally, was pretty sure she was dead. Flopped her over. And then about 30 seconds later, she took a breath. So I had to jump on her and do it again. It took.
So instead of him just stopping at that point, he chooses to do it again. And I think that's out of his choice that he's like, well, now I have to handle business because she'll tell. He doesn't want to get caught. Remember that. He doesn't want to get caught.
Probably several more, it's probably wasn't as long as it seemed like, but it seemed like it took her another 5 minutes to get her limp then. And then finally, when I was pretty sure she was dead again, I jumped up and grabbed the duct tape and put it over her mouth and nose because I was getting tired. My arms were getting sore from clamping down.
So the reason he used the duct tape is because he couldn't hold her down to, asphyxiate her. It's disgusting.
So you have a tight seal on her lip. That way you wouldn't have to hold her anymore.
Yeah.
You can ensure it's gone.
Yeah, just make sure she didn't start breathing again this time.
Okay.
And then, once I got her taped up, I drug her into the bedroom so I could open the front door and wheel her bike in.
Where'd you put her when you put her in the bed?
Just there in the floor, like between the computer desk and the bed. I just wheeled her kind of right through the door, far enough that I could close the door so I could open the front door without anyone seeing.
Do you remember any of your neighbors seeing you talking to her that day right before she went to the apartment?
So again, here he has to think about, oh my gosh, I just did this. Do the neighbors see the vehicle there, or not the vehicle, the bicycle? Are they going to know she's here? It makes me wish that we had those Ring doorbells back then. A lot of crimes are now a lot easier to convict when we have true evidence. Unless someone comes right out and just tells them what happens, which is it's not very often people actually tell the truth.
Unless they are looking at the peephole or anything, I don't think any of the neighbors had ever seen her talk to me at all. But, and, that was one of the things I was always so nervous about is, the apartment right across from me, they had a door with a peephole, and I'm, what if they're looking out the peephole as I grab the kid, something like that.
So anyway, you took her back in there, then you went outside and did you get the bike?
Yeah, I got the bike, wheeled it in. First, I stuck it in the big walk-in closet just to get it out of the way. My head so low to the ground, I wouldn't have went out of the bed until I removed the pedals and everything. That was the main, what I thought, all along was the main flaw in my plan, because with my plan to eat her and everything, it seemed like the bike was going to be a lot harder to dispose of than the body.
So you give us a call.
Yes, he just said that. The bike would be harder to dispose of than her body because he planned on eating her. This individual, I'm so disgusted with his ability to just be so clear in his explanation of what he's done. It's appalling. And this case has touched me, and that's why I decided to do it, because it's not very often that someone is so very open about what they've done and to the extent that they've done it. This is a child who just wanted to come in from the heat, watch some cartoons, and play with a pet rat. Please watch your children. so dangerous out there.
I gotta get rid of this guy.
Yeah. And then I never, like I said, I never actually had sex with her. But after I got her back in, you know, she was laying there in the bedroom, and I stripped her clothes off of her.
Where'd you put the clothes? After you took them off?
At that time, I just threw them in the floor, and they were all wet and smelly. She'd wet herself when I was choking her. But I took her clothes off and licked her nipples a little, and you know, kind of smelled her vagina, and I kind of got the tip of my penis in her. But that was it, because I was going to try to have sex with her right there, but
When you say in her, can you describe what body part that would be?
her vagina. I mean, I didn't even, like I said, I just kind of, well, I was going to, but the way she was like laying right on the floor, I couldn't really get to her very good. So I just kind of tip of my penis kind of rubbed her vagina a little bit. You know, it might have, as far as like DNA goes.
I'm going to pause it here, and we can finish this later. I can only handle so much. We're an hour into this video, and I'm 2 hours and 41 minutes into this stream. We will go back and review his past tomorrow. What his family has to say, what kind of personality type he is. Explain, like, you know, he was bullied when he was in school, he had mommy issues, etc. I appreciate everyone being here. Coin Dragon, I enjoy you visiting. It's good to see you. B, sorry you lost your mic. You're welcome to come up tomorrow. My streams are already posted for the next 13 days. I will be boots on the ground for the last 3 days of, probably 4 days of this series. And we're going to go through and go see the apartment complex. We'll be there at court, and we'll also be there for the execution. So, you know, if it's something you're interested in, let me know. Stop in, say hi. And for those of you that are in chat, please drop your link to your channel so others can connect. And thank you, Kaylee, for posting the content warning for me. I appreciate it. It is very graphic. The whole session the whole series will not be this illicit, but this was to give you an idea of why I chose this case to do this case. It's very distressing. And it's like, you want to understand what was going on in his head. And I'm very pleased with the judge's decisions on this case. The judge didn't give in to the whole humanity thing, because he didn't have any humanity for this beautiful little girl. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate you all. Stay for the outro.